Gavin McAnally, we go again.
There
How you
it is.
doing?
There it is. 3 months, people. 3 months it took. But James is broke. We go again. Yes, we're
Thing is,
gonna make.
in my head, I wanted to do it in a Scottish accent because I only hear it from your dulcet tones. But I thought that that was probably a mistake to do.
I'm sure the listeners would enjoy that. James, 3 months, mate. That's it. Does it feel like longer? Does it feel like longer?
It does feel longer because it's like a proper part of our lives, isn't it? Now it's not like something that we rock up for 2 hours a day anymore, is it?
I was surprised. I was surprised when I looked. Cause when was this launched? I looked at it again, 29th of February. Like, oh, that must be from 3 months ago. Because it does feel like it's it's quite a massive part of your life now, and it is something just in your weekly schedule, and I suppose daily as well because you're checking in the numbers or you're getting the feedback from listeners or stuff's getting posted left, right, and centre, including
Yep,
now the Instagram group. So it's great. But what a great first 3 months.
that's good. Yeah, I'm still really enjoying it, and like you say, it's part of our sort of weekly routine now. I'm like constantly making notes on my phone, being like, yeah, we should talk about that on the pod. We should do an episode on that, or something will happen, and be
Yes.
like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking tell everyone what that agent did.
Talking about something that happened, did I see in your Instagram over the weekend? You were at a festival. Were you at the first
Yes,
summer festival?
it was absolutely hammering it down. We got weirdly as a festival veteran, I turned up in the wrong footwear and with no waterproof trousers, so I was like pretty underdressed and got quite wet quite quickly. But I'm embarrassed to say because it was the same weekend as Slam Dunk Festival and Portals, so it's like one of the 2000 Trees main competitors and one of Arctangent's sort of similar festivals, and yeah, could have gone to either of those, but I went to Love Saves the Day in Bristol instead.
Who is playing Love Saves the Day?
It was headlined by your mates, The Streets, um, who I didn't see, and
Oh, great.
Rudimental, who I didn't see. We actually went because the people who are running the bars at 2000 Trees are a new company for us, and their first event of the summer was Love Saves the Day, and they just said, "Why don't you come down and check out what we do?" They gave us some free drink and um, gave us a little tour of Love Saves the Day. I always like going backstage at other people's festivals just to see how they do it. And it was nice. I went with my brother and both our wives came with us, and we had a lovely little time just wandering around the festival, eating, you know, festival food and drinking quite a lot of beer.
And how was it backstage? Was it good?
I mean, it was. I mean, festivals are never as exciting backstage as you think they're going to be, are they? It's just interesting to see. Well, when I say backstage, I don't mean the ligging bit of it, the party bit of it, just like the production. It's just
I actually
interesting to see
see how it's
the
been put together.
backs of stages, and you're like, looking at, oh, I wouldn't do that. Oh, I wonder why they've done that. And just the porta cabins and the dressing rooms and the trackway and the generators, and everyone we all do this different in this industry, and yeah, it's quite interesting to see. But doing it with a beer or a rum on the go, it's quite an enjoyable experience. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I know I saw some. I mean, I know the British weather, and this seems to be the news story that just gets the best traction anywhere. Like how terrible any given week or month's going to be. I know it was one of the news reports that it was like going to be the wettest summer in God knows how many years. Have you seen that yet, or is that something you guys? How much credence do you give these sort of reports? Or is that just sort of, this is it every year?
Mate, you've got to stop reading the Daily Mail. I mean, it's you always get that, like, this is going to be the most snow we've ever had in December. Um, I don't know. No, I'm not having it. To be honest, when you run two festivals a year, sometimes it's a wet summer and you get a sunny one, and sometimes it's a sunny summer but you get a wet one because you're just asking for 4 days of sunshine, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's the tricky thing, I think. I mean, 2000 Trees is always sunny, nearly always. So I'm going to give you my guarantee that it will be sunny. Arctangent, there are no guarantees, as you know.
No,
We'll
no,
see.
there is not. But I feel like people even prepare for that tangent and that mindset now that you come down,
Yeah.
you're a bit like, you probably go to another festival. Like, I am not the guy to prepare with the wellies and the waterproof bottoms. I accept that when I show up and it's going to be muddy, that my white trainers are going to get muddy and my jeans are going to get muddy. And I'm like, well, that's just the way that I'm comfortable going about. But the art tangent broken me that I definitely take my weathies because there is no white trainers and jeans that can ever survive an art tangent.
Your white trainers are art tangent. They're not meant. No, it's not meant to be. But it was a weird experience because if you go to say Arc Tangent as an example and it's raining, everyone will just watch the bands anyway because what else are you going to do really? Whereas at Love Saves the Day, it's a day festival and we got there about 1 p.m. and the acts had started and I've got a video of my wife and she's the only one dancing in front of the main stage. As in there was a DJ playing to one person, which is like pretty wild. You don't get that at rock festivals.
You do get that at big commercial festivals. I mean, I was singing the praises of Connect in a previous episode when I went to and had the whole day with my wife and saw the National and Little Sims and Idlewild. There were several stages that you would go to in the afternoon that would have 20 people in front of a stage that's easily, I mean, it's outdoors. I mean, the capacity could be 5,000 really if it went right up to the tree now. And that is not that uncommon at some. I mean, even like the bands that we would love. I mean, I went to Leeds and Reading maybe 5-6 years ago, just before it became the Leeds and Reading that is now. That now you feel like a grandparent that's showing up in a wheelchair. I mean, as opposed to what it was 10 years ago when people in their 30s might still go. And I saw Gojira and Baroness play one of the small tents and very empty. Yeah. And that's when Gojira and Baroness they weren't just opening bands there. I mean, they were kind of bands that were already playing main stages at metal festivals across the world. So there's something about the big commercial festivals people go for. Fair play to them, but they go for a different vibe. You know what I mean? They show up and they say, "I'm here to see Jerry Cinnamon." Jerry Cinnamon starts at 10 p.m. tonight, and before then, I'm really just going to get pished up and enjoy myself and whatever. I'm not that interested in going checking out Modest Mouse and Stage 3. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And it is that sort of like electronic dance music festival vibe that I was at. It's just a totally different thing. You know, everyone was like on the walk in, and when we left, because we left, like we didn't leave at the end. When we left and when we were coming in, there's people like drinking bottles of wine standing outside the gates. They're like necking bottles of wine. There's other stuff going on in the bushes as well. There's like little dodgy little packets of something being handed between people.
Everyone's got these wee earpod packets everywhere.
Yeah.
And no earpods.
I had an argument with a security guard on the way in to Love Saves the Day. And he said to me, "What's that?" And I said, "It's for my earplugs." And he said, "Can you open it, please?" And I opened it. And it was actually empty and I'd left my earplugs at home. And he's like, "That's not for your earplugs." I'm like, "It is for my earplugs." He's like, "You need to put it in the amnesty bin." I'm like, "I'm not putting it in the amnesty bin, mate. It's my earplugs." It's like fucking.
And also, mate,
my earplugs.
Also, it's empty. Even if you're just going to take it off me, it's a fucking. It's clearly for earplugs. Because I've done the same. I've not been asked to like show, but I've done the same showing up at gigs before. When I didn't get my earplugs, it's got the same wee fucking twisty thing, and I left them in the cabinet or something. But fortunately, I've had to explain that to a security guard. So
I won the argument, so I'm happy about that.
Good.
Tell us about some of the listeners will know about your week, Gav, but tell us, didn't you have something through the post came to you?
I was like, was he talking like salvation? Or was oh, where is how could we do this without me having the actual sheet in front of me? You should have reminded me before I came on.
No, you sent me the notes.
I know, but I never even thought about actually reading it back. So where the fuck's he put it? All right, okay. I'm gonna have to explain the situation without the actual letter. You think that's possible?
I think you can. Brian can save us here with a little editing. Here you go.
So
lovely. So
previously, if you were listening to the Riders episode, you'd have heard me make up an entirely pure fiction for the purposes of entertainment. I made up a story about procuring some cannabis and taking it down for a band at Damnation. And that was that. The story was told, everyone had a laugh, and James even said, "Mate, I'm going to be you're going to end up in the nick." So that was that. And then a couple of weeks later, I received this letter addressed from Police Scotland headed notepaper. I won't read it all, but I'll give you a flavour of it. "Dear Mr. McAnally, Formal warning regarding possession of cannabis with intent to provide. I'm writing to you on behalf of Police Scotland regarding a statement was brought to their attention when you admitted on the podcast, Two Promoters, One Pod, first aired 16th for the 5th, 24, that you were in possession of a quantity of cannabis with the intent to provide to a musical artist. I have reviewed the podcast in question and I find evidence to support the allegations made against you. This letter serves a formal warning regarding your involvement in this matter. And then it goes on at length about the subsections that's done, the impacts of providing cannabis can be, and the fact that we're getting small, right? So I'm reading, I'm like, fuck, what? And I'm like, the first thing you have to consider this was sent to my home address, right? There is, say 10,000 folk listen to that episode. There can't be any more than a handful, if even, that actually
I don't know your address.
You don't know my home address, right? So that's the first point, right? So this isn't an email that's been sent in or some guy from Nigeria saying, I've won the lottery. So that's the first thing I'm sitting there going, wow, this has actually arrived. Secondly, it's written really well. It's written really well. Now, I dealt with cops and cop press releases for years. This is the boring way they would write it. You know, it is done quite well. So I get to the end of it and goes, right, okay, this PC, constabulation, right? And I'm like, fuck, number at the bottom. So I'm just dealing with this right now because basically I'm just going to phone and say, there was a made-up story. How the fuck are you going to prove it one way or the other, right?
What's your level of shitting yourself though at this point? Are you?
Do you know what? Hands up. Did I believe that was a letter from Police Scotland at that moment in time? Yes, I did. Hands up, was I shit myself about it? I wasn't shit myself because I was still like, mate, I know the police have to investigate some minor crimes, but how on earth are you going to prove? I'm on a podcast. I can tell you I was fucking 8 foot tall. It doesn't mean it's true, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to say, look, it wasn't true. And so I phoned and as I hit in the last digit and a mobile number at the bottom, my partner in fucking crime, soon to be former partner in crime, Paul from Damnation, his picture appears. And it took me a second, a millisecond to go, oh, why is Fro phoning? I'm like, fuck, it's him.
Amazing. He's done a great job there.
So I was like, he never answered that time, and then he phoned me back a couple of hours later, and I was like, you bastard. And he was like, fucking going. Me and my wife were saying how long we had to leave it and what the wording should be, you know. So I says, well, you got me a cracker, mate. And I thought, you know what? This needs shared with the internet. Because the first thing I was like, because then when you actually go into the weeds with it a wee bit, the postcode is G1D4M for the short for Damnation. And it's got the police numbers G-OT-CH4, which got you. And then the actual full name, although a signature, is Damnation. You know what I mean? So there was, if I'd taken longer than 30 seconds to process it, I might have caught one of them too. But it was a good one. And then I put it on the internet, and then the amount of people, I'd say almost 99.9% of them,
they bought it, didn't they?
They bought it as well. And I wasn't even selling it to them. It was like, I would say, oh, I just put up that wee police car. And the amount of people that bought that right off it, because it was, the way it was presented was well done. So
I mean, you read it out to me on the phone, and I was just like, "Oh, for fuck's sake! I really don't need this shit." I was just like, my wife's going to be like, "What were you thinking?" My mum's going to be like, "Why were you telling that story?"
Like, Mum, it wasn't me. It was that stupid Glaswegian. It has nothing to do with me. So, fuck you, Paul. You got me this time, son. If anyone wants to help me get Mr. Farrington back, that'd be absolutely wonderful. But fair play. It was a lot of fun, and it was good to put it out there as well because the internet enjoyed the laugh also.
Yeah, it was really great. So if anyone's missed it, go and have a look on our Facebook page. It's a comedy moment from Paul there. So well done, mate.
It was a good one. So 3 months in, James, you are going to do the big sale now on telling folk. Come on, because here's one thing I've learned about the first 3 months. Everything's going well, better than we expected. We've not done about it for ages, right? I'm not sure how interested people are, but saying, oh, it's the new best one, it's the new best one. But it's all going in the right direction. We're loving it. All the numbers go up. So, for example, the Dillinger Escape Plan, the last week's one came in, that's 3 or 4 times the numbers in the first day. However, the actual traction, the interaction of people talking to us is on the decline. I feel because people are kind of getting comfortable in it. Like they've said, oh, by the way, guys, I really enjoyed that. Or they've clicked a like, or they've done it once and then like that. Okay, good. Well, you know I'm listening. But that, for me, is like one of the best bits.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Well, look, we got YouTube, we got Facebook, we got Instagram. I'm in the process of convincing Gav that TikTok is the future, even though I've never been on it. Two men in their 40s arguing about whether or not we should get a TikTok account. But it makes a difference to us if you share, if you comment, if you talk to us. And this podcast has totally been built on interaction with the audience, I think. And so please keep doing that. Check out the On the Record Spotify playlist. I've got a mate, Tom, who always gets really cross with me because he refuses to use Spotify and he wants us to do it on Tidal.
There is a hero, Tom. There is a hero who is doing it in Apple. And,
okay.
And so every time we put it up, he's on our socials, and every time we update it, he then goes up and updates it for people in Apple.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps, Tom.
Yeah. Well, Tom George, if you're listening, stop moaning and do your own playlist on Tidal and share it with us, and we will get it out to the people. But look, please, if you're listening to this and you like the podcast, give it a share. Like, tell your friends about it. It is growing, and we're super excited about that. So comment, like, etc. But more than anything, my thing would be share it. Tell people about it. You'd really like this podcast. Tell people about it. And let us know if we need TikTok or not.
And also, there's 2 points for that first one. I'm not the 1 point because I do 2 points and forget what the second one is. So the first one,
always just 1 point.
But the 1 point is we done a bit of tipsy Q&A, which will come out the same day as this, but we'll pre-record it, so it's like a week or so previous. We have a conversation about who's going to go and set up Instagram. So if you listen to these, if you don't listen to these episodes the way that they'll come out on the 30th, which will be today's 28th, so it'll be the 30th, you'll get this one and we'll be talking about, so the Instagram account, which should get like 700 followers now. You'll be listening, and the next episode's going to come out, you'll be like, you and I are going to be talking about who the hell's going to set up the Instagram account. That might sound a bit odd. That's the reason for it.
It's hurting my brain, Gav. And I think...
And see, that's why I never done it, because the second point, I remember it. Yes, Gav, you're getting better at this. When you're sober, you're good at this. Is when I'm talking about interaction as well, I'm leaving talking about coming on and saying, oh, my God, you guys are the best, and this is the greatest industry podcast. For like, that stuff's great. But what I mean is, like, get involved in the conversation we're having. So if James is telling me that band X is great, and I'm saying band Y is better, then chip in, let us know. I mean, tell us the bits that you don't like as well. I mean, I don't mind any. I just like to know that. I just like the conversation with folk, the same way that I enjoy it on the Damnation forum. That I quite enjoy that aspect of organising a festival, and I enjoy that aspect of organising the podcast. 1 point that would probably be a cracking one. After this, we get into a wee bit of a machine head debate, and James has given it the big licks for the blackening, and I felt that everybody gave up Machine Head after Through the Ashes Empire. And then I've seen a couple of, once you've had the conversation, you see a couple of examples. I've noticed people talk about the blackening being like this masterpiece. Right. So I'm prepared for my L, right? I'm braced for people to be like, Gav, you're talking shit. The blackening.
I think it's important to know when you've got a niche opinion, or and it's okay in music to have a niche opinion, or whether you're actually with the majority. And I'm in pretty safe territory, given the blackening its love. I'm afraid, mate.
Good. So, where are we? Lou's Brews, our man has been with us now for 3 months, and apparently he's just came back from his holiday. So, welcome back, Lou. Hope you had a good time. I hope you've got plenty of orders to come back to, and many of them saying Pod 15 of them being sent out by this podcast. And what we've got to add, James, just go there, get your order, lousbrews.co.uk. Pod 15, get yourself 15% off. Support the guy because he supports us.
Yep, he's a legend. Although, Lou, I want to have a quick chat about when I tipped your bottle up tonight of the extra hot sauce and it flew out onto my my dinner. Could we have a slow pour mechanism, do you think? Is that too much to ask? This literally happened to me 2 hours ago, and I was like, I've still got to eat it, and it's fucking hot, really hot.
You get your practice in for the Q&A 4 will be the hot ones. So, mate, you get your practice in for that. Anal vomit is open. And now, when everyone comes into the house, like, you want to try a wee bit of anal vomit?
Is it as lively as it sounds?
I've only had... I mean, let's face it, it's hot. But you know what's got strange? Because when you first taste it, it's like, you know what, that's hot, but it's hot, but it doesn't go away. It's one of the hot sauces you just kind of sits in your teeth for an hour. So I can imagine in any sort of quantity, it would be properly eye-watering for a long time. I've only had it like a wee dip, or a bit, like I've been careful with it, and I haven't opened. So the Creepers, the other hot sauce, and he's got one. He's done a collab with, I think it's Halifax, and I think they're the three ones that must be. He's sort of the hottest of the hot that he does, which I'm sure we'll get to, and I'm sure that they'll just compound in effect once you've done the first one on the next one. That it's going to be pretty ropey. So there's your man.
Right.
Also, I noticed the last time when I plugged Damnation Clothing, I checked. We've done a bunch of orders. I only actually spotted that the other day. So please, if you fancy getting yourself a lovely olive hood or any of the designs we've got, go and check out damnationclothing.com. That would be fantastic. And finally, 3 months in, anyone else wants to get involved in this podcast, sponsor the podcast, send us a shit ton of money that we can give to Bri for producing it, then get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Should we do some questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Matthew Pierce says, would really like to hear about the politics of the sound check and the PA. Are there bands who insist that they get the best sound? Why do some bands' sound mix seem off where others are decent? Why can't all bands have the same quality sound? Is it deliberate to have headliners with the clearest sound, or just the practicality of having sound checks all round with so many bands?
Sound checks are tough ones. I mean, it is quite black and white that headliner gets a sound check.
Yeah.
And then all other bands, possibly not, possibly a line check. Which just means you get to check that you make noise before you go on stage. You don't actually get that whole open workout as such with the drum kit and everything live. We usually tend to get the sub headliner 45 minutes usually, but then again, if the headliner really making a big deal about it, the headliner gets the say of it. So the part of that question about when the guy Matthew asked about, do they get the best sound? Well, that's not a straight line conversation. You know what I mean? Because they all bring their own sound engineers largely. The bigger bands all bring their own sound engineers. And they do that because they believe that the person that's going to be behind that sound desk will give them the best sound. The biggest bands bring in their own sound desks with their sound engineer. Do you get a lot of bands that actually roll sound desks into the field?
Yeah.
I see. I mean, that's how serious they take it.
Yes, I mean that is. I remember watching them carry. I think it was Enter Shikari maybe, but carry the desk through the crowd because rain or shine, you've got to get that desk to the front of house, which is in the middle of a field. Yep. So yeah, it's not ideal to have your own desk. Usually they would a bigger band might request a certain desk and we'd get something exactly the same or at least similar. But yeah, I mean there's a lot of factors going into good sound, aren't there? You've got the crew that are doing the sound that work for the artist, but you've got what the desk is. Have they got someone doing the monitor sound as well? Because that must affect the artist's performance and how good the monitors are in the artist's ears. And I mean, there's no politics at a festival of our size. I've never been asked by a headline band to make everyone quieter or make their sound clearer. Now, whether or not there's politics at the top end of festival world, maybe does the PA get louder as the day goes on at something like that?
There was always a chat. There was always a chat, not at a festival level, but if you're Metallica and you're like, we're going to be louder than the support bands, and at the start, you're always like, your knee-jerk reaction is that is, what a shitty move. And then when it's actually a wee bit when you think it through, like, hold on a second, that's almost a bit like the lights and everything else. Like, those are Metallica. This is all Metallica's production. So if Metallica want to come out and the lights want to look better and the sound wants to be louder, as long as they're not putting the support bands on mute and making them sound like they're trying to come through somebody's Spotify playlist, it's like, well, okay, well, at the end of the day, it's Metallica's stadium. But you're right. You're right. Whether that you think that's right or wrong, that doesn't happen at our level of festivals. The problem with that is even if you go to the bigger festivals and you did get that from a Metallica or Iron Maiden, the problem is the bands you're dealing one down for them are pretty massive in their own right. You've got your Architects, your Bring Me Horizon, like your Fall Out Boys. Are they going to accept that? Probably not. They'll just do a festival and not playing the set. So, I think at festivals people accept the PA, i.e. the big speakers at the side that are what you're getting from the festival. A lot of the other stuff gets brought in by the band, the backline, and then they bring in their own sound desk, own sound engineer. You can have a band at the middle of the day for whatever reason, sounds crystal clear, and then you can have a band that's headlined and it sounds quite muddy. And a lot of times you'll notice a set getting better as it goes in it, because the sound engineer and everybody's working it on the fly, because they don't. And that same band would go to their local headline show and sound check for 2 hours to make it everything they want it to be. But you've got 7 of those bands on that festival bill that day that don't have that opportunity at all.
No, and I think the crowd think the tendency of an audience to think is that this is a thing that should be perfect for every single band, and in reality, there are a lot of moving parts. There are so many variables, because you've got like the settings on the amps, and then the PA and the front of house desk, the monitor desk. At 2000 Trees, you've got the wind. You got Arctangent, you got the rain battering off the roof of the tent. But the 2000 Trees, I mean, if you've ever been to a big festival, wind really does play havoc with sound, blows it around. So, it is tricky, and you're trying to do your best at all times, but there's never any favouring of any bands. Totally, no, not at all.
No, it's not.
The weird thing, for anyone who's not been to Trees or Arctangent, is that because it's a very open festival and we don't have a closed arena, you will hear the headliners sound checking in the morning. So someone said, I saw recently on Facebook, one of their best experiences last year at 2000 Trees was Frank Carter sound checking at 2000 Trees in the morning. And apparently he asked one of the food traders, what song should we play? And they called that a song, and they played it to like a gathering of like what I imagine was probably 150 hungover people. So it can be quite cool.
I mean, sound checks, and I mean, obviously, in our roles, we see a lot of sound checks, but usually you're doing it walking through an empty venue with an earpiece and going to deal with the next problem. It's a weird. The sound check's a weird vibe, because even though the bands are doing it's very much hand in the pocket. Don't look like you're part of a rock band kind of thing. Even though you're like, this is what you're trying to, I don't know, copy for later on. I mean, you're trying to get yourself that zone, but it is very much like the singer, head down, hand in the pocket, white t-shirt on, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're like Frank Carter or Rammstein or Skindred or whatever, it does look a bit weird watching them sound check, because it like reminds you that they're normal people. Yeah. Whereas, Mogwai probably look exactly the same, no disrespect to them, when they're sound checking as they do when they're playing. Same with Meshuggah, they just do their thing.
Aye, it's true. It's true. Yeah. Right, okay. Simon Clark, how big is the total press list, guest list for your festivals, and what's the oddest reason you've had people trying to get on it? It must be some good James. You've been getting bumped to some folk.
I mean, it's about ours is about 2,000 people a year. It goes up and down. We try. It's like Blag Central. I mean, there is everyone's got like their boyfriend or girlfriend on their crew list as like a camera person or a fucking roadie or whatever, and you're looking out for that as basically like, no, that's not really how this is supposed to work. But I mean, my favorite one that we had was, do you know who Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen is?
Yes.
So his daughter came to 2000 Trees, and Brendan, one of the 2000 Trees organisers, he's like in charge of the traffic and the security and all that sort of stuff. And it was a muddy year, and Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen wanted to drive his daughter in, but for no other reason than he's famous, right? And so he basically contacted us in advance through his PA to check if that was possible. We're like, no. He gets there on the day. He's like pissed off. And apparently Brendan told me yesterday that Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen was walking around saying, "Oh my God, this is ghastly," over and over again. Oh my God, I can't do his voice, but imagine Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen doing, "Oh my God,"
and I feel colourful
over and over again. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're pretty generous now. Like all of my friends in the early days used to buy tickets to 2000 Trees, but now I'm literally like everyone I know comes to 2000 Trees for free. If you're my friend, you come for free, 100%. If you play football with me, you come for free. Yeah. That doesn't mean if you contact me and you're a random person, you're coming free, because you're 100% not. Yeah. But if I know you, if your kid's in my son's school and I've seen you in a black t-shirt, I'm going to say to you, by the way, do you want to come to 2000 Trees? And as long as I don't catch him walking, my mate Sid, I saw him sorry, Sid, because he probably doesn't listen to this, but this is about 15 years ago. I caught him walking around 2000 Trees with a Tesco carrier bag full of cans. And I'm like, mate, giving you a free ticket to this festival. You can't even buy a beer. You got your bag of cans. It's that one always pisses me off with people.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
I mean, that's a strange because we don't have any take in the bar at Damnation, so there's something to be said for you guys. I mean, even getting someone in, like somebody like that example, me, for example. Now and Jesus, I spend hundreds of pounds at your bars, hundreds and hundreds of pounds at your bars when I'm there. So you let me in for free, but ultimately the other side of it, there is a take there for you guys, and your food traders get a bit extra, and the bars get a bit extra. So I can see why that makes sense for you guys. When you say the 2000s, is that 2000 per festival, and is that across both?
Yeah. So broadly speaking, I guess it's actually a really hard number to calculate. But that's not just guest list. That will be some staff in there as well, and press and all sorts. There's about 2,000 freebies there.
Yeah.
Which, if you imagine a bigger festival, they would be way, 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 way higher.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that 2,000. I don't think is actually too bad.
Aye. It sounds like a lot for. I mean, you think that's a third of Damnation's capacity, so that would be a lot. But at the same time, well, I don't know the answer for. I don't know the answer for guests because the way we do it is we just advance the ticket. So we just somebody will call in contact and it'll be like, "Aye, that girl, can my girlfriend come along?" Or can I? And Paul will just ping out tickets. You'll just see tickets getting pinged out left, right, and centre. That are basically the exact same ticket, but with a £0 value. And so it'll be, I mean, let's say 100, maybe 200. Paul would have a better answer for that. The press list, had a quick check, there's about 60 there, which I cut down previously. It was above that, but you were getting people in that press list that you would then Google and see what actually came of the press from the year before that, and it was zero. So it was one of those ones where, and also another thing that, like, I don't mind an unknown website or fanzine getting in touch and saying, "Oh, here we are. Can we get into Damnation?" I'm like, great, but what have you done? I mean, we've had 6 announcements out since the start of the year. So, no, we're going to review it. I'm like, well, but what good is that to this year's Damnation? I mean, they're like, it's okay, so you come and review it, but I need you to help me sell tickets for this year. So you need to put some sort of effort in. I mean, you set up a Facebook page and hit share or repost. I mean, it takes almost no effort these days to help promote another festival. But basically what you're saying is you just quite like a couple £100 worth of free tickets and to sit in a press area, but you're not really willing to do anything other than come along. And let's question, I mean, I might have people have said that and they've never written a review either. So basically all you've done is taken a couple £100 worth of free tickets and done nothing at all.
Yeah, and you do have to be super careful about that sort of thing. Like, one thing we get a lot of Arctangent is because I feel like the bands and the fans are the same people. So all the people, particularly in the early days of Arctangent, all the people that were in those sort of math rock and post rock bands were all the ones that were coming to the festival the next year. And you can get in a dangerous guest list situation where everyone knows someone that they can get a ticket with.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll get a ticket through that person this year, that person this year. And frankly, if no one ever buys a ticket to a festival, it's not going to be there for very long, is it? So that's not me being tight, but
there does become a point.
Give away free tickets.
No, of course, and like, so I keep harping on about last year, but last year's my example where if there's no money made for me at the end of the year, ultimately, if you're my friend, we've got some sort of loose relationship, and I have given you the ticket for free, and then you've come to my event has made zero profit, then I've just gave you 80 quid. I mean, or you've taken 80 quid, whatever way you want to look at it. That's when, if you've got a nice chunk of profit there, the nicest thing to always be able to say to everybody, like, oh, just come along, everyone come along. But if you're not in that position, you're a bit like, well, I kind of need this in the same way that if I came into your restaurant, I mean, you'd still, maybe you give me a discount, maybe give me a couple of glasses of wine for free, but I can't just eat your food. I can't just eat your food for free, you know what I mean? So there's a wee bit of that.
Well, on those 2,000 people, don't forget at 2,000 Trees, they've got their own campsite, which we rent off the farmers. They've got their own toilets. Some of them have got showers. They've got a backstage bar. It's basically like there's a lot of infrastructure around just the backstage alone. So for those people to come for free, and I feel a bit bad now. I've got Sid, my mate Sid. I feel like I've just hung it all on him, mate. with your bag of cash.
He's a spearhead for absolutely bumping you when he gets you. And also, I feel like probably these people are our most supportive listeners as well. People listening, like, they tell their friends about the podcast. I've helped it become what it's become. You'd be like, you're coming to our festivals for free. You better buy a drink.
Yeah, I'm going to buy Sid a drink if he comes.
In my case, but I mean, buying a drink's fine because obviously we want to show that venue that we are worth having there and secure it for the years going in the future. However, merch is the one for us. The Damnation merch, Damnation clothing merch. I mean, by all means, go and buy your favourite Electric Wizard t-shirt, but it goes a long way picking up an official Damnation hoodie or t-shirt, and also it saves the poor guys in pins and knuckles for fucking having to drag it all the way back down to Margate as well. So that's the one for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great segue, that is, Gav, into the next question.
Oh, is it?
You're clearly, you've reached like level
mate, professional levels. You can't be a top. You can't be a top 5 podcaster and not get your segues nailed on.
And I've just made it really clunky. So Matt Eden asks, after James this week shared a pic of his framed Steve Albini drum skin, I wondered what other memorabilia you have. Do you ask people to sign things for you at your own festivals, and have you asked for set lists, etc.? I mean, my best memorabilia is that so I got a shellac drum skin set list and drumstick from when they played Arctangent, and I didn't know this had happened until after the festival, but Steve Albini wrote on the drum skin, on a night like this, it hurts less to remember we are mortal, which feels pretty like poignant, given that he's no longer with us. But I've got that all framed as one thing. It's pretty cool. But I'm not really a massive, I don't want loads and loads of that sort of stuff. It's like when Steve Albini's there, you're like, fuck me, this guy's a legend. When the Mars Volta were there, I brought my vinyls with me. I never really like to be the guy going up and ask them to sign them. So I'm always like saying to the stage manager, I'm really sorry. I know you got a really busy day ahead.
I know you've got a real job.
I've got some vinyl here. Could you get Cedric to sign it, please? So yeah, I'm mostly, I don't really want to be just bothering bands all the time. I don't often ask for a photo. You know, I asked for a photo from the Mars Volta. Well, it was at the drive-in, and Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro was pretty much it. Apart from my biggest fanboy moment I ever had at 2000 Trees was with the Wild Hearts, because I grew up with the Wild Hearts, and basically I was just like barged into their dressing room and gave them a big speech about how important they were, and it was a super nice nice thing. But I'm not really like are you a memorabilia guy?
I wish because you know what, I've got some nice things that are in front of me. I've got a signed Converge Jane Doe poster. I was hoping to get through an episode without mentioning Tom Begley's name, but it's hard to tell that story without mentioning Tom Begley. He went and sorted it. So, and then when I got that, and I've got We Lost the Sea signed one behind me as well, and I'd be like, shit, I wish I'd done more of that, because I like some of this stuff. I've got random shit that I don't even know how I acquired. I've got the Carcass drumsticks that were used not only by the drummer from At the Gates, the Swedish guy who I fucking forget the name of now, but also Ken Owen. So they were used by Ken Owen when he came back and played a track with them. So I mean, fuck, if you're a huge Carcass fanboy, you're a bit like, there's a piece of fucking rock history that's sitting in my loft, and I've got like a couple of set lists that seem to just come back up the road to me, and I've got bits signed bits and bobs. But what kind of pisses me off is, do you know how much I would have loved a Mariner vinyl or t-shirt? Even forget it being signed, but know how much I'd have loved at my own event having a t-shirt and a vinyl. And I never even occurred to me. Never mind going and saying hello to them or getting a photo or any of that stuff I never done. It never even occurred to me, like, Jesus, Gavin, you should really, grab that vinyl. I mean, you don't even know this band that might never be together again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you could get it signed, and then you'd have, I'd love that. But I'm not a wee bit the same as you. It's not even so much that I'm not that interested. It just doesn't occur to me. I've mentioned before on this podcast, sometimes the days themselves can just carry you away in their own sense of terror and panic, and then the highlights being when you see man alive. And I'm not I do a lot of Damnation the same way a fan would do. I stand where usually where fans would stand. If it's a set that I really want to see, if I'm desperate to see that, you'll see me in the crowd beside you. I mean, if it's Nordic Giants or Julie Christmas, I'll be standing beside you. If it's a band I quite like, you maybe see me stand up at the production office on a balcony. But I'm not a guy that's milling about backstage trying to get stuff signed and get photographs. Although sometimes I think I wish I was, because when I do get things like that, I quite enjoy that. So
yeah, well, you can, you're saying you can get caught up in the pain and the panic a bit, but you can also get caught up in enjoying yourself sometimes. And like sometimes I'm like, do I want to break this off to go and find out if Michael Ackerfeld is actually a nice guy or not? Or
do I want my heart broken?
yeah, because actually meeting your heroes, of which he is kind of a hero to me, and I've never met since me and Johannes from Cult of Luna fell out on the phone that we talked about. I've never spoken to him, but I'm always like, oh, I should go and speak to Johannes, or I should go and speak to Michael. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm having a nice time here. And we've just lost Opeth's backline, so I'm not going anywhere near that.
Let's leave that alone. Right.
Yeah.
One last question, because we're going to get into the whole suffering for salvation, and because you got me caught up in the 3 months of the podcast and talk about Police Scotland, I think we're probably going to run on a wee bit with this one too.
Okay.
So
yeah.
one last question, which is an old friend of Damnation, is Robert Purnell. Question for Gav, following discussion volunteers. Those who've been going to Damnation long enough are familiar with your family manning the Damnation merch stall. Whether the average punter knew that or not, how happy your kids giving up their weekend to help their mental old man make his dream work? And have they gotten to the point we've had to bribe them to come quietly? And does James plan on putting his, you'll be son, he might not know you've got a son, to work when he's old enough? So, but firstly, my kids, the McInally household is a weird one, because there is no real credit given for organising Damnation or being part of Damnation or owning Damnation. I mean, I repeat that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I'm still mocked relentlessly about being unemployed and potentially homeless. So, they're not that impressed with the idea of getting dragged to Manchester or Leeds. A wee bit easier when it was Leeds because they were younger. My son's now 15 going on 16. My daughter's 13 going on 14. But they did come last year. They are bribed. If they help with the Damnation clothing stall, they can make themselves some decent money. My mum and dad have been there since the start. Now, there was a wee bit of changeover when it got so big and Pins and Knuckles came in, because then you're dealing with, I mean, a 6,000 capacity arena. Like, my mum and dad aren't operating a merch company, you know what I mean? So Pins and Knuckles come in and they handle the Damnation, the merch with the lineups in the back, but there's still Damnation clothing, which is a much smaller operation, 5 or 6 items, and ultimately it's all on my head. So something goes missing. My daughter or my son, it was like a £60 order, and the guy never tapped the machine properly, and the guy's noticed, but my daughter hasn't. He's walked away and kept the merch. Now, if a company's doing that to you, they're like, well, somebody's responsible for me. What am I going to say to my daughter? I'm going to take £60 off. You know what I mean? And plus, she's laughs at you anyway. A guy went away with 2 year hoodies, or dad, tough luck. You know what I mean? So, but it does bring it. It's nice. It's lovely for me. I love having them there. I try to get them, like, when I know there's not a Nordic Giants and I maybe will, I make sure they come and see it. Like, I try and drag them all, even my mum. Look, I know that you think this all sounds like sandpaper against your face. I know you think that this is all horror music, but there is moments of sublime and gentle brilliance in the middle of this rotten sound and Nathrak. So, and they do it, and also just to be like, look, this is one of these things. Like, this is a big deal. I mean, it's a huge deal to me, and I know I go on about it every day in the house, but I've been fucking look at it. You're looking at a fucking balcony. There's 6,000 people in this room enjoying this. It's like, it's incredible. So I love having them there, and as long as I can keep them coming, then I'd love them to get into this style of music and come to gigs with me. But I mean, at the minute, my daughter's and the same, because I'm music that a lot of teenage daughters are, and my son's into a wee bit of Dave and a wee bit of some sort of hip hop and rap, but I mean, there's not a whole lot in the way of heavy metal for them as yet, or even post rock as yet. So, that's that. But your son's got a wee bit longer to go. He's young.
Yeah, I mean, he's 5, so I'm still at the stage where I'm just trying to indoctrinate him. But because most of the music I listen to on a day-to-day basis isn't really that catchy, as you can tell from on the record. So every so often I've got a Metallica playlist for him where I'm like, here's the 7 biggest rock songs there are. Let's get into some rock music. And tonight he was singing Enter Sandman without me asking him to. So it's that's the route in. Enter Sandman is, do you know what I mean? That's how you get into metal. It's not through fucking Armin Ra, is it?
No.
So yeah, he's We'll see. Who knows? I'd love
Aye.
him to be in. I'd love him to be into heavy music, but my wife definitely does not feel the same. So
No. I can't say. Well, my wife is still, Jesus Christ, she's got a fucking horrific taste in music, man. She's one of the like she does a housework with like Shania Twain playing. And I can even take someone that's got a different, like if you're I'm not a big fan of jazz or drum and bass, right? But at least if you're right into your jazz and drum and bass, I'd have some respect for it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
at least you went and you've became the Gavin James and like the fans of our festivals, and you've went and done your version on the record. But you haven't. You're listening to Shania fucking Twain. I mean, it's like
yeah,
it was handed to you in a plate by your mum, and you've never scratched any further to find any music. You know what I mean? Like I've got no respect for that at all. So, aye, that's where we're at with that. That's the fun part over. Do you want to know about salvation? Do you want to know about suffering for
yes, please
salvation?
do it. That would be great.
Right. So the reason I thought this segment, this topic for the podcast would be an interesting one for listeners is because not because of look, I've organised a day before Damnation and here's some bands, you go and buy a ticket, but because of the differences of organising an event like the Night of Salvation, which is to all intents and purposes, a glamorized, a glorified fucking pre-show for Damnation against what you might pick up as a normal promoter. Now, I feel that there's very different types of promoter. None of them are right or wrong, or none of them are better or worse or harder working, but you get very successful promoters per city. And what they do, and what a lot of them have successfully done, is they've become the main promoter for that city. And when you're Queens of the Stone Age, you're Amin Ra, We Lost the Sea, when these guys come in, you're the name that the person goes, but you're there and you have relationships with your venues and you book these bands and you promote your shows well and you sell a shit ton of tickets and you make your money and that's what you're doing promoting. But it all comes to you. You built that relationship over the years and you wait for the agents to approach you and the packages come to you packaged, i.e. the bands that are there and the dates that the avails that you've got. And that's one way of doing it. Then you get the promoters that do that, but also try to do like a guy Mark in Scotland's a good example. Like he'll also try to make Danzig work at the Barrowlands. Now, no one's talked about Danzig to him. He's approaching agents and trying to get Emperor to play the Barrowlands. He's trying to look for special shows that he can make happen alongside the touring stuff he's getting offered. So he's getting offered Decapitated and Nile, Slay and Audio, but he's also working behind the scenes getting bands like Emperor to come to Glasgow, which no one was offering. Then you get your festivals that do a bit of that. And then Salvations, I think, is at the far end of that scale where not only are we trying to get bands that are not really being offered to us, but we're trying to get them to do album sets that are not even considering doing. So you're going to bands and saying, Decapitated, it's 20 years since you released The Negation. Would you do it? And usually agents back like there has been no conversation about this whatsoever. But the bands haven't played this. Bands haven't played this material in 20 fucking 10 years, 15
Yeah,
years. There's been no conversation about it. This is going to take a while. And that's the reason I'm calling this one the suffering for somebody, because it's taken so long to get to this point. If this was just a second day of Damnation, which people believe it is, we would just book bands the way we book Damnation, and we would just fill up the second that day, and it would just be a row of great bands, and it would be day one and day two. But this is deliberately done different, and that's why it's taken so long to get. So at the minute we've got the Captain doing the 20th anniversary of the Negation, and that's a world exclusive set as well. So not only have they agreed to do it and rehearse to do it, then they're only going to do it in Manchester and then never again. And then we'll get Sick of It All doing the 30th anniversary of Scratch the Surface, which is a UK exclusive. And then we've got this mental Austrian party band, thrash band, Insanity, that are doing the most bizarre set, a mix between these covers of like, not even covers, it's their interpretation of like Guns N' Roses, and instead of Fear of the Dark, it's Beer in the Park for Iron Maiden. And then they've also got their own, they're doing Stormtroopers of Death, Speak English or Die hits for that as well. So God knows how that set's going to sound. I am making no promises. And it's going to be all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's how I approached it and how it's taken so long to get to that. Did I explain that?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, at any point have you regretted that? Because you made your life difficult there, haven't you?
Yeah, so what happened? Right, so last year as well, and this is something that I've spoken about at length already to Damnation fans. But so you've got the Manchester 6,000 capacity. We move up from Leeds 3,000, Manchester 6,000. First year we just do the one day, and it's like there's 4 bands or 5 bands playing a smaller stage on the Friday, the night of Salvation. Always supposed to be a separate event. £25 a ticket, nothing to do with Damnation. Just there's going to be a lot of people in Manchester. Let's give them something to do. Then last year we went big guns, and it was like Enslaved doing their debut album, Leprous playing Cold, Catatonia. We had Dead Guy doing Fixation of Cold. So we were already in this mode of trying to get these bands to it, but it didn't work. It didn't work. We didn't sell enough tickets. It lost a shit ton of money. If it wasn't for Damnation, it wouldn't even have been financially viable at all. The only thing that
Yeah.
propped it up was Damnation. And we made the mistake that I've mentioned previously that we booked Enslaved twice over doing 2 sets and Catatonia twice over doing 2 different sets. And that didn't work either. A lot of fans were kind of like, fuck, we could have 2 bands instead of you guys going there. And then there was a sort of misconception that we got them in the cheap as opposed to what actually happened is we got them in the fucking premium rate twice over. You know what I mean? So you get you're basically paying 4 times the money for 2 sets that you would if you just got 2 standard sets. So there was a lot of mistakes there. And then coming into this year, myself and Paul having a conversation, my wife, a bigger conversation about Damnation, which I kind of get into in the whole cancelled festivals and the near death of Damnation episode is we can't sustain that again. That can't happen again. So Salvation had a pin in it at the start of this year. So I was like, where's the combo tickets? Where's the tickets for Friday and Saturday? Those won't appear until we actually know what we're doing. Because another problem with last year is we started it at £35 a ticket and then it became like a £70 event. So
Yeah.
even the people who were coming, there weren't enough of them. They kind of get a half price ticket. So like, we're making no promises. First thing that needs to happen is Damnation needs to sell spectacularly. After there's some sort of security for that, we'll turn their attention to the Friday. But not until that happens, because people say, I'll buy a blind ticket right now, I'll support you right now. And like, well, I appreciate that. But if we sell you a £70 ticket and it ends up a £20 gig, you're going to lose your mind. And if we put a £30 ticket on and it ends up an £80 gig, which ultimately it has, we're going to lose our house. So there has to be some. It's very easy just putting something in paper and sticking it on the internet, but it has to have some financially underpinning it and some sort of common sense. So that's what happened. And Damnation did do very well. So once we were into sort of January, February, we understood that fundamentally Damnation was going to cover itself and every chance it might sell it this year. So then you can really start turning your attention to Salvation. The issue there is when you're trying to get these sets, this isn't a week long or a 2 week conversation. No. This is a 2 month conversation. And then that became, I mean, so we're going out to start me like, let's get the red cord, let's go for the Hope conspiracy, let's try and get 3 inches of blood across. I mean, we weren't, this isn't even asking like Decapitated to a regular touring band to go and dust down an old album and come down. We were going for bands that had to dust themselves down. I mean, after like 15 years of no playing live and then suddenly do that and then come across. So we were having conversations with all those bands too, to varying degrees of success and varying degrees of interest. And that, we've talked about this, where you can't then go and make the same offer everywhere. So next thing you know, February's gone, March is gone. You're like, shit, we're really starting to get a bit dicey. We wanted this announced by February. And then it's like, you've got all your LLN and your Mismore and your Fen and Underdark and Hippletrack, they're all locked in and tied. So you know that the event's happening, but you're not getting the sets. And every time we had some sort of deadline, we'd have a band, we had one of those bands that I mentioned actually were over the line and confirmed and then had to pull out for other factors. So then you're like, shit, back to square one, because you're not asking people wait for 4 months and then putting tickets on sale at 50, 60, 70 pounds and then giving them, no disrespect to LLNN and Mismore and Under That, all great bands, but people are like, no, on the main day, you're fucking giving us Cradle of Filth and Bleeding Through and Nails exclusively, and then you're going to give us some touring bands and tell us it's the same price. So it just became a tiresome process of trying to get that over the line to the point of what we eventually got to.
And are you still on? Is it still on? Are you still booking?
Yeah, we're still booking, because what we're going to do, we got a bit of freedom with this. We're aiming for 5 bands per stage, and at the minute we've announced 3 per stage. So there's still space, and we've got bands booked as well that are doing other album sets and some specials. So we've got stuff there because we need some marketing clout for the rest of the year. But it was at that point, because we probably wouldn't have done Decapitated, Sick of It All, Insanity Alert, Mismo, and that right off the bat with the very first announcement, if it hadn't been that it had just taken so long to get there.
Right.
And God bless that forum, because we done a sort of soft launch quietly and never put anything on our socials, but only put it on the forum when it was like Underdark, LLNN. Can't even remember the other one. We put 3 bands, and Insanity Alert was another one, and people end up doing like 600-700 tickets just on there. But people are like, right, okay, we're in. I mean, we're in for the price here. So that now, as we sit here and discuss this, it looks like that's also going to be very successful. But it just behind the scenes, there was no malice to it. There was no like anybody was fucking us over. It was just when you're dealing with these kind of sets, because it's very easy to sit down on it and go, this could have been planned last year. These tickets could have been selling last year, but these are the reason they couldn't have been, because there was too many factors, too many bits of the jigsaw to get in place before you had any idea how to even price the ticket before talking about what the lineup was going to be.
It is complicated doing an album in full if you're a band, though, isn't it? It's like it's not if you're like a NoFX or the Sex Pistols or whatever, that's not that difficult. But if you're enslaved or somebody much more, I'm trying desperately not to say anyone because I know the behind the scenes who some of the bands you talk to. It's just not that simple, is it? It's a weeks, if not months, of work to try and get the set to the point where it sounds as good as you want it to sound. And
then you get some of these ones as well. We had that. There was a huge, let's just say, my type of music, we'll call it that, right? I don't want to start saying, no, we could have had this and could have had that, and then people are like, well, you're upsetting agents, and then you're upsetting fans because I'm not getting this. But it was a huge my type of music set which would have been biblical in my eyes. But we had the conversation about that. The streets, it was a grand don't come for free. So me and Paul were having a discussion about it. You and I were having a discussion about it. And you're a bit like, the money involved in this is eye-watering. I mean, like, twice the price of what I would be even looking to pay for that same band without an album set. Is this album because it's not many bands have got their Jane Doe or their Slaughter of the Soul. No. For a lot of bands, they've just got a fantastic back catalogue. Decapitated are probably one of those. Well, no, like everybody's saying The Negation's my number one album. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of bands with a sliding scale of what someone's favourite would be. And then and also, are they that popular? Is this just something I've talked myself into because I'm such a super fan and because this set is something that I would travel for? Do I feel, am I letting the fan overtake the promoter here because it's something that I really want? And you get conversations like that there is no answer for, because the only answer you ever going to find is when you put it on sale and you see what it does with the tickets. And you'll never know until that does happen. So those conversations were also happening in amongst the grey areas everyone else are waiting for. And as we talk right now, there's not 2 or 3 bands that have now been offered for Damnation all the Friday. Damnation's fully booked. So now Friday's looking like a surplus day. And you're a bit like, shit, I can't. This is like I'll use Mogwai as an example because I want to fit them in, but not Mogwai in the stature of a band. Like, it's not a band that just can come in and be the headliner. But if this band's available after all this fucking time, we're finding a home for them. You know what I mean? We're finding a home for this band. So it's likely going to be the Friday. And you're a bit like, this day could end up being an absolute fucking stacked super day. You know what I mean?
That's hard, isn't it? To know when to stop then. So do you think you'll book it, more people will come, and the finances of that will add up?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing, is so we don't look at the Night of Salvation and think that's 6,000 people. We don't. I mean, all respect in the world to Decapitated. I am the one booking Decapitated. I obviously believe in that band, but I'm not suggesting that a band are doing 6,000 tickets. You know what I mean? No. So that is one of those sliding scales where you look like, right, 3,500 tickets in here, and the Friday would be fucking great. I mean, that'd be a busy arena, big crowds for all the bands. But you add that band, you could do another 700 tickets. Calculate it out, less VAT. I mean, it's like, how does this stack up? Could they get another 700 tickets on it? If so, that's definitely worth it. And then there you go. So that's what I mean about the freedom of it. Whereas with Damnation, you're a bit like, that's sort of built on that scale. We know where the break even is. And also we've filled the bill anyway. So you'd really be looking at a very complicated situation of moving a band from the Saturday to the Friday, then that opens its own can of worms for everyone, doesn't it? Because they are two separately ticketed events as well. It's not like Arctangent where you've bought your weekend ticket to come to a festival, and if it moves from Thursday to Friday, it might not be ideal, but ultimately you're still getting the same ticket.
You've got a problem. I hadn't thought about that. You've got a problem then, haven't you, where people are saying, I bought a ticket.
Bought a ticket for that because of that. So there's that. I mean, and that's a great question, because I don't want this. I want this conversation to be wider about our events as well. It's like, that's great, but you just that's like, when do you know where to draw the line? Because you would suggest, like, well, it used to be we got a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, and now my two festivals are put on a Wednesday. But then I'm looking at it and I'm excitable and I'm booking all these bands and I've got these other stages. Where do you draw the line when it comes to your two Wednesday events? Like, no, this has to be what it is, or else it just becomes a 4-day festival.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. When I was looking back recently, because it's 10 years of Arctangent, at the year one lineup, I'd forgotten that it used to be a Friday, Saturday festival with a bit of a Thursday. And now we're Thursday, Friday, Saturday with a bit of a Wednesday. And, where do you draw the line? I think, because recently at 2000 Trees, one of my business partners, Simon, was trying to encourage me to like expand the Wednesday, because the forest is full and the ticket sales have gone amazing. And it's like, how do you know where to draw the line? Because to expand it is to book a proper stage, like to go into the cave stage with a 3,000 cap tent and be like, it's really changing the vibe. You need more security, more sound contractors, you need your generators there a day earlier, and everything just slowly gets more and more expensive. And let's not forget also that people love those Wednesday nights at my festivals. And if it just becomes another day, next thing you know, you'll be going, oh shit, we need an early night again. Tuesday, it's Tuesday now. And it's like fucking going back and back and back. So I think I'm trying desperately to stick, although I'm going to regret saying this out loud, but I was fantasizing the other day about Arctangent having a second stage open on the Wednesday next year.
Right.
That's just like, it's the easiest thing in the world.
So that the answer to your question is, fuck knows where you draw the line.
Yeah.
Because the line probably should have been nothing before Thursday, and then it becomes, because that's a problem. Because Night of Salvation, for all those years it happened in different small pubs, and then it was just the one stage at Leeds, and then even when we done it at the one stage in Manchester, no one questioned it was a different event. No one ever said, oh, this is just 2 days of Damnation. Even if they were coming just as early and spending as much time in the venue, see, as soon as we done exactly, said, oh, that's tempting. Look at that big empty stage with the production and the big lights that have been put up there. We could stick some bands on there, couldn't we? And then, oh, look at that stage as well. And then you think, look, there, everything's still going to be in place for the Sunday. And okay, you always need to pay extra, but you could do a wee bit with the Sunday. You could have like no, you can't, Gavin, because this just starts spiraling out of control, which is clearly which you have no one holding you back. In fact, you've got Timon behind you, pushing you, going, right, let's get more fucking stages.
Yeah, well, it's tricky, isn't it? Because I think even Download, they went 4 days, didn't they? Now they've come back to 3 days again. You've got to be careful about how much you spread the fun too much, and the number of bands that you've got available to you. Maybe there's 1 year where you get a mad band offered and you do a Sunday at Damnation, but to do, and actually we considered, I got offered this massive band for Arctangent this year, who aren't really, I didn't really think they were Arctangent that suitable, but they were just sort of just about. And we were thinking about doing a separate ticket.
Yeah,
an extra day. Just keep the site. We've paid for everything to be there. Let's just do an extra day and put, Britney Spears on that day. It's not Britney Spears, but and just have the day. But I don't know.
It's tempting. It's tempting because well, if we're just, you see that bingo card that get done for to Promoters One Pod. Did you see it?
That was, really good.
The one that I love, one of the ones I like most is James like, I better not say this. which you almost had stamped just there.
My brother gets shit on that bingo card as well. I think
it was something about the brothers. But if you're going to say some stuff and just be like, here's my thinking, here's our thinking for next year. Maybe for the 20th anniversary of Damnation, going 2 days for that 1 year, and not in a sense of that's the Night of Salvation, become like going Saturday, Sunday.
Fucking hell.
Damnation for the 20th anniversary, 2 days. Whether there's a night of salvation or if it's in a local pub or we open up our day, we end up going full James and I'm the fucking end up with 3 days yet. But the actual Damnation itself, Saturday, Sunday, 1 year vibes. Let's say because
Amazing.
you know what? 'Cause I've got big ideas for the 20th anniversary. I want to do a lot to celebrate the festivals past and the acts we've worked with all these years, but I also want to do to celebrate the festival's future. And I like the idea of that contrast between the 2 days, having your here's 20 years of what Damnation was, and here's 20 years of what hope that Damnation will become.
Wow, I didn't realize that's what you were going to announce. Actually, that's amazing. Are you
Aye.
going to do? Is that a we writing that in blood now, and that's done?
It's not locked. Well, let's see what the reaction is when people hear it. And they're like, fuck that. There's no way I'm coming on Sunday as well. So because we did moot this. We did moot this plan in 2013, getting into 2014, and people were like, no, not for us. Don't fancy that at all. Want to be an old there, but no, I feel that there's maybe a wee bit more of a hunger for it. I think we've got a wee bit more about us, and the fan base is there too. So we'll see. I'm
Yeah,
not
and look,
committed. But listen, you're offering up stuff for next year's Wednesday. I thought
I'm in. If you book them, mate, if you book them, they will come. I think you know, basically the right lineup, and everyone's going to be all over that, aren't they?
yeah.
No one's
And you
going to
know
be
what?
saying, "No, I don't want to stay on the Sunday."
Paul and I have always had a been about because I think pound for pound, our day as a festival stands up against anyone, and in a lot of occasions, I think our day festival stands up against a lot of weekend festivals.
Yeah.
But you hear a lot about weekend festivals, like, oh my god, look how stacked this is, look how stacked this. And then Paul's like, well, we're not fighting with the same rules here, are we? Because we're getting one stab at headliner, and this other event's getting three. Whereas I think when you see this year's combo poster up, when you don't have those Catatonia taking 2 slots and then Slave taking 2 slots and Dead Guy and Sai taking 2 slots, it's going to look incredible. And then if we do that over 2 days with the amount of bands we could probably get our hands on, I think it'll look like shit. Like they've really pulled something out the bag here. So I am quite excited about it. Do I get too carried away? We just announced Salvation. It's going good. We can still do more sales for Damnation, but that's going good. So I don't want to get too carried away with it. But just when you mentioned the whole thing about Wednesday, I thought, will I or won't I? So we'll see if Brian edits this part out. And James is listening going, did you not mention something about 2 days of Damnation?
Yeah, it's definitely happening. Well done, everyone. Get your tickets
Get your
for
tickets.
this year, and then Gal's going to give you a Sunday night next year. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Man.
I completely agree with you what you're saying about the lineup this year. I was having a look through it today, and it's I have got a lot of bands. I think it's the most bands I've ever had playing at Damnation that without me having to go and do any listening, I already am into like big long list of big long list of bands.
And I know that like I'm calling this episode like it's suffering for salvation because it has been a fair bit. Like Flo and I have been bashed our head against the wall a few, but we are buzzing about it now. And the likes of yourself, you're coming up like that pelagic stage. I mean, for the folk up there listening, I said, what the fuck even is he top is? So there's 3 stages now. You can have your pelagic stage. Already announced for that is a very art tangent friendly Hippo Tractor, Sugar Horse, and LLNN with 2 other very art tangent friendly bands to come. Then there's a black metal stage with Fen, Underdark, and Mismo so far. 2 more black metal bands.
Incredible. I had to go and find out what those bands were. Not one of the logos was readable, even though I've booked one of them.
Underdark one's particularly fucking difficult in the eye.
Yeah.
So, and then the main stage is the aforementioned Decapitated doing the Negation World exclusive, Sick of It All, Scratch the Surface, which could be a banger. Were you ever into your hardcore back in the day, or is that one that's kind of passed you by?
No, do you know what? I haven't ever seen Sick of It All live. I'll be really up for seeing it. It's not hardcore, not really my bag. I mean, I've got a long list of bands I want to see. So frankly, who are they going to clash with?
No one.
No, okay, because they're main stage.
And then you get thrashing, man. Turns out you're a bit of a thrash man as well. Because was it the last episode you helped me at a hole with Stormtroopers of Death?
Mate, I know my metal, but I'm not sitting at home listening to thrash either. I like a bit of death metal though.
Well, that's how that's shaping up. So when you're coming into that, you're going to have some tough clashes between that because you like your wee bit of Underdark as well, don't you?
Do you want to know my list? I've got a list. I'm just going to read it to you.
Tell me.
It's basically like the whole lineup. these are the bands I'm already a fan of: Underdark, LLNN, Hippo Tractor, Sugar Horse, Russian Circles, The Ruins of Beaver Rust, Ahab, Inter Armour, Duel, Pine, Resin, Hangman's Chair. I mean, fucking hell. That is a serious list of bands, and there are some absolute, like, I get very excited about Ahab and Inter Armour and Duel. Never mind all the pelagic ones, and Russian Circles are just Russian Circles, aren't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that, so that's more. Like I said, this is not me sitting here doing any research yet, which I will do. I'm
yeah,
also quite interested to check out Gatecreeper and Nails,
yes.
which are slightly not quite my thing, but I think will be super fun.
Yes,
So yeah.
yes, mate. Yeah,
So
mate, you
so
get me.
have I?
Uh,
Do you know? I mean, I'm not expecting you to know this, but did I read out any clashes there? There's got to be a clash somewhere there between bands.
well, because you've not no Celeste. See, the thing is, you've not been hooked by Celeste yet, have you?
No, I don't know why. I'm
See,
gonna.
I
I
feel
will.
like
I
I feel
100%
like
will
so
watch
up your
Celeste.
street. I think Celeste, they sound like, see when you all your recommendations for like Celeste of that, and then your band just takes one acid too many, and then goes
Yeah,
to fucking Toad Liquor. Know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah, yeah.
Celeste for your
Sorry,
band as
apologies,
well.
Celeste. Okay, yeah,
I think, but that sounds like a whole lot of stage three. That sounds like sounds like you're going to camp up in arena three for both days and enjoy a lot of that action, and then maybe mill on over to the main stage, catch like that Nails, or if
yeah.
you're really full of the beans by the night time, catch some Danny Filth.
I
Well,
mean, I'm all over that, particularly as we'll be mates by then because he'll have been on the pod and
been on the pod. Well, that's a very positive one. I hope that. I hope I got across what I was trying to achieve with that whole the salvage thing and the differences in promoting and then the knock-on effects you can have when you're trying to do something different from the usual. Just, oh, Crowbar, are you playing? Aye, we're going to be in fucking Bristol the night before and Glasgow night after. Great, booked. Or fucking Gatecreeper, are you playing? Yeah, we're going to be in Manchester and then we're going to be right. Okay, booked. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah.
different when you're trying to get these agents. And some of the agents are a bit like, this is a fucking long shot. But ultimately, the agents are always like, and mate, you're going to be paid
Money.
for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
And listen, you do not go into those deals expecting to get the going rate.
no,
That that you're at, and there is no value to like you're saying. One band will say, like, if we need to rehearse that for a month, we expect 10 grand extra. And our band are like, fuck, we're going into the recording, we're going into the studio to practice anyway, so we'll do that instead of what we normally do. So put on an extra 2 grand. And there is no price to that. You know what I mean? It's
no.
like it's whatever that band decides, and it's up to you to say, shit, do I really want to pay fucking 40 grand for a band that you might play normally for 15? And sometimes the answer to that's still yes, because it's just going to be worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's a tricky. You never know the answer, as you said, until you announce it. You just don't know. But yeah,
And talking about pods and Danny Filth, so I mean, I don't know why I mention this because if we say about the whole download thing and then it can't happen before next week, then we're a bit like, but should we be talking about the future of the pod and the people that are saying about coming on?
well, I mean, this goes out in 2 days, so basically, if it all falls apart, we can still say. If we say it, then it has to happen, doesn't
It
it?
has to happen. So next week's episode will be an exclusive download special with Mr. Cam Hack, senior Live Nation promoter. And my understanding is he books a fair chunk of the lineups you see. And he is coming in to this with his eyes wide open to kind of shit what I talk about, mostly towels. So
Yeah, he's going to tell us some stories, I think, isn't he? Hopefully.
So really looking forward to that. We have been in touch with the folk from Outbreak. They have shown an interest in chatting to us, and also our good friends at Roadburn. So there
Yeah,
may well be some very, very good guests. I know a lot of people really enjoyed the Tom Taff episode. We
yeah.
will have another agent on at some point down the line.
Yeah, we got a couple of 2000 Trees guests up our sleeves as well, but I don't want to say their names until we're 100% locked in. But yeah, so hopefully over the months we'll do like a 2000 Trees preview with some 2000 Trees guests, and then that's what I keep saying about Danny Filth. I really want him to come on. We'll see about that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It tends to be a knock-on effect with these things. Well, you hear that with the big American podcasts that are trying to break through, and then they finally get that. Oh, we got Drake, and the next thing you know, fucking everybody. So Cam Hack is going to be our Drake. He's going to be the guy. The floodgates will open once you get Cam Hack. Fuck, I tried for 2 years to get Cam Hack onto Damnation versus, and he was always a very polite maybe, which never really became a yes. So it turns out all we needed was another fucking God knows how many thousand listeners and Big James Scarlett, and you can even have the cream of the crop.
I think the listeners can take the credit for that. But yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I think it will be we get on very well with Cam, both me and you. So yeah, I think it'll be a good
He's
episode.
a cracking guy. He's one of these guys. He came up and then we'll let him tell his own story, but he came up right through the same similar routes. And now, I mean, doesn't really get any bigger. I think he books like Iron Maiden tours for the UK now, so it doesn't really get much bigger than Cam. So, great. That's going to be fantastic. Nice positive end to that. And now, hit me with some. We need to do Salvation on the record, don't we? We need to follow that trend. So you go first. Tell me what you've got.
I'm going to recommend people check out Hippo Tractor, band from Belgium. Signed to Pelagic Records, playing Damnation this year. Played Dark Tangent twice last year, I think, and they're fucking great. They got a new album coming out on the 7th of June, so it's imminent. New singles called Renegade. You should check it out. They describe themselves as progressive post metal. I can't really do any better than that. That's basically what they sound like. It's the same
vocalist as Psychonaut, isn't it?
Yeah. So in Psychonaut, he plays. Is he the guitarist or the bassist in Psychonaut? That's really bad that I don't know that. But he's just he is instrument free in Hippo Tractor and giving it the beans. He's got a proper voice, that guy.
Yeah.
In fact, he's like the secret weapon in Hippo Tractor. Such a massive voice that he can sing and he can sort of like, I don't know, it's almost like a bellow. But they've got like interesting songs, but they've got actual bangers as well, like big fucking choruses. And I really love them. They played the main stage at Arctangent in, I don't know, 22 or 23, and it was really something quite amazing.
I don't know if you caught the comment that someone made online. It said, when we announced that Pelagic stage, it was Hippo Tractor and Sugar Horse and the LLI, and then it goes, so Gav, that'll be you copying James's lineup then. That was like...
I mean, hopefully we're going to get Robin on from Pelagic at some point. I'm going to ask him why the hell there's a Pelagic stage at Damnation.
Mate, he needs to. Firstly, did you ask him? Because I asked him.
Well, let's talk about it when he's here. So
I know you like to just bring these things up live on the podcast. No, we can have a conversation behind the scenes. So, the Pelagic stage is going to be fucking right up your street. I think you'll probably get top to bottom, enjoying all 5 of the bands, because you know what, that fucking label's just top drawer. I mean, I don't need to explain that to you. You've got. I mean, know what I keep getting on my playlist now. What's your band? Love Sex Machine.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, fucking brilliant band. Absolutely
really
brilliant band.
Yeah.
They're coming on a lot on the playlist for the couple of times I listed it. The other one, The Duel. That's a banger. I had a friend of the podcast get in touch with me. Goes, James he's overreaching. He's overreaching with the song of the year. He says it's a good song, but song of the year's a big shout, James.
Is this fucking Tom Begley?
No, I know Tom Begley shits in everybody.
He's giving me shit. He's sending me WhatsApp saying I'm listening to Door. What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay, try not to mention the guy. Mention twice.
Yeah. Okay. No more Tom Begley.
No more Tom Begley. So I'm going with long overdue Sugar Horse. And the tune, they've got so many good ones out, and I've released a lot of good, but the one that really caught me the first time I heard it was Shouting Judas at Bob Dylan. And it's that, I mean, they've got riffs. I mean, they've got one of the ones where the riff does never seem to stop. And you just feel yourself kind of getting it. I was watching them at Revolution, and you just feel, before you know it, you're not doing that headbang, you're doing that when it comes to the ankles.
Yeah.
You're swaying backwards and forwards like a lemming in the wind. And they've just got absolutely, they're going to be so good. I'm so, at the time when I was trying to piece together the Pelagic stage, that was another thing about Salvation, which was problematic for a long time. I was trying to chase a relapse stage. So the thing is, when you go to these record labels and you're trying to get them to buy into doing a stage with you and working in partnership, is you need to put their bands in it, obviously. So you need to go to labels where you're willing to book their bands. So it's like Sugar Horse. When I was first offered, it was the Pelagic stage. Now, Sugar Horse aren't going to work on a black metal stage, and it's maybe a push to ask them to open a 6,000 capacity arena. So I was like, fuck, getting offered Sugar Horse, but I'm not really going to have a home for them. And I was like, no, Sugar Horse and Pelagic, like, bingo.
Yeah,
bingo. So, aye, that was I was well chuffed for that one.
that's meant to be. Lovely.
It was meant to be. We did catch him at was it Revolution? What was the other one I went to? Whatever that festival was, I went to that. I name checked the last time. Same guys that organised it anyway, and they were fucking great. They were absolutely, when you're booking a band and you know they're good in record, then you just wouldn't need to see it live. You're like, oh shit, it's even better live. So, Sugar Hustler, one of those bands that I always hear from a distance at your festival. I'm always in another tent or heading back to my tent to Claps, and you just hear Sugar Hustler playing the band. Go, oh, bastard, I've missed it again. So, looking forward to not doing that this time.
Yeah, they're great. Bristol band as well, so that always makes
Oh,
me want them to be successful. They're nice guys and yeah,
very good.
fantastically talented. So yeah, and now they're signed to the best label as well.
And they are, indeed. So any other rays of positivity before we leave you for a week?
No, mate. I mean, I'm glad that at the end of all of that suffering, it's come out. It feels like it's coming out well, and it's going to be great. And I'm excited that you've announced that we've got 3 days of Damnation next year. I think.
Did you get it thought? Potentially two, not never three. Two in a fucking 1 in 100 capacity club if you want to come for the night before.
Great.
You're listening to this, if this has been dropped into your podcast feed, Q&A 3, in which I discuss how I ended up with 2 tour buses, will be out shortly after, the same day, and out shortly after on YouTube. So please check out both episodes. Bear in mind, James and I had a few shandies before that one, and definitely have a couple of shandies through it, and you can definitely tell by the time I get.
I woke up the next morning feeling anxious about what I'd said.
The thing repeated like, "I'm not drunk. Are you drunk?" I'm about like, mate, the eyes do not lie. So we went into that one to have a bit of fun. So I hope you enjoy that one in the same sort of thinking about how we went in it. So don't take that one too seriously. All right, and I will see you next week. So hopefully with Cam Hack.
Amazing. See you then, mate.